Hey now, welcome to the Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game reaction. Michael Remis here in the host chair after Game 6 of the Jets and Blues first-round series. The St. Louis Blues taking the final score 5-2, tying up the series and forcing a Game 7 in Winnipeg on Sunday night at 6 p.m. Winnipeg Jets, same story. Felt like a carbon copy of Game 4, where all it took was a couple minutes to take a close game to a blowout, and the St. Louis Blues up on top. Pleased to be joined by Connor Hrabchak. Connor, how's it going? Feeling like a little deja vu here after Game 6.
Big time deja vu. I texted you right after the game that was game 4. That was literally game 4 from start to finish. It's 1-1 halfway through. You think the Jets are playing okay. And then a 4 to 8 minute stretch where in game 4 it was 8-ish minutes. In this game, it was 4 minutes, even less than that, maybe. And the Jets completely lost the game in that stretch. And there's a lot to unpack here before we get to game 7 on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with some questions looking ahead to Game 7, but we are going to spend a lot of time here talking about Game 6. And before the game, we did get a lineup change for the Winnipeg Jets, notably Mark Scheifele out with out with an injury after leaving Game 5. And in Dominic Toninato, fourth-line center, but also in Nikolai Ehlers, hadn't played since the beginning of April. Surprise appearance at practice in a regular jersey after being in a yellow jersey, and there he was on line 2 with Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti. I mean, how about Nikolai Ehlers coming into this one? Bit of a surprise, but you figured it would be an offensive boost for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so a surprise because Nikolai Ehlers, with Gabe Vilardi, he was in skating on his own. Then he joined the team and had a couple of skates in a non-contact and then a couple of skates in a contact jersey before playing in a game. Nikolai Ehlers, this was his first skate in a regular contact jersey, was morning skate, and he played in the game. So very much a surprise. Nikolai Ehlers did have an impact in this game. I mean, the Jets scored 2 power play goals, and Ehlers had a nice 2-on-1 that we'll get to that he barely missed on. That really would have changed the outcome of this game. Obviously, looked like a player that hadn't played in 3.5 weeks. Looked a little bit rusty, and a player whose speed is their calling card didn't have that top end speed, which is to be expected coming into a playoff series like this. But yeah, when you lose Mark Scheifele, who didn't play in this game, any help offensively is welcome, and getting Nikolai Ehlers back is huge. And it's huge for Game 7 as well. We don't know if Mark Scheifele is going to play in that game. We know he didn't travel to St. Louis, which isn't a good sign for his Game 7 availability. But having Ehlers back in this series is a good sign for the Jets. And if you're looking for something going into Game 7, you'll have Nikolai Ehlers there for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, Nikolai Ehlers, and we'll get into the power play. The power play looked much different in a good way with him in the lineup. Before we get into the first period, got to give a shout out to the sponsor of the post-game show, KFC Canada, an official partner of the Winnipeg Jets, and they're committed to providing Jets fans a delicious game day experience with exclusive finger-looking good promotions they're proud to bring to the Canada Life Center. On Jets game days, Sunday's your next chance. KFC Canada giving away their Big Crunch chicken sandwich for just $4.95 at participating Winnipeg KFC locations to help Jets fans enjoy the game with a big hit. You've seen Colonel Sanders at all the whiteout parties in full whiteout gear cheering on the Jets, and Kyle F. Connor. Looks like KFC really loves KFC. And Connor, the first period begins, and so much made about the Winnipeg Jets starts in St. Louis. Game 3, they scored early. Game 4, much better. And this may have been their best start so far of 3 games in St. Louis. What do you think of the Winnipeg Jets opening couple of minutes?
Yeah, it was a lot of offensive zone time. I thought they did a really good job taking, the crowd out of it, at least to start. The St. Louis Blues didn't have a shot on goal until their first goal of the game, but the first 5-6 minutes, the Jets really controlled the puck in the offensive zone. Credit the Blues for keeping the Jets to the outside and not really giving them any opportunities to shoot or get any high danger looks. But yeah, I thought it was a really good start. They got pucks in and cycled it and kept the puck out of the hands of the St. Louis Blues, which is ultimately a good start. But like you said, they ultimately fell down 1-0 to begin the game.
Yeah, some controversial goal early on.
Right.
6:05 in, Philip Broberg takes a point shot, and it's Pavel Buchnevich in front of the net, goes into the crease. Sandberg's trying to cover his guy, maybe pushes him into Hellbuck. Hellbuck clearly interfered, and the point shot goes in. St. Louis Blues go up 1-0, and Scott Arniel takes a timeout trying to decide if they're going to challenge it for goalie interference. Ultimately, they do not. What did you see on this goal, and did they make the right decision not challenging?
I personally would have challenged, and not because I thought it was, like goalie interference is so weird where we all don't really know, like the NHL tries to explain what goalie interference is, but they really just like flip a coin. I thought this was a coin flip. I thought Buchnevich went into the blue paint on his own, and then Sandberg pushes him into Hellebuck, which sometimes you see goals get overturned because of that, because the offensive player goes into the blue paint on their own and they're not really in control of where they are. So for that reason, I would have challenged. I thought it was goalie interference because of that precedent. But like so many times before, precedent gets thrown out the window with goalie interference. So I was okay with the non-challenge from Scott Arniel as well, because I thought it was a coin flip. I would have challenged. I get why they didn't. But I didn't think it was like a vicious goalie interference and like, how could you not challenge that? I just would have leaned towards challenging it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one?
They have Matty Prefontaine, who apparently is
They
the
do.
Wayne Gretzky video coaches. That's what Eric Comrie said earlier this season, that the Sabres goalie coach said to him. So they've been pretty good. I trust them. Buchnevich does go in on his own, and I think if you're a defender, I mean, how do you get him out of there? Like, is there a way to get him out
Yeah.
without pushing him into your own goalie? Was it goalie interference? Maybe. Would they have overturned it? I'm not sure. They did talk on the broadcast how the official who called it a goal was very strong in his opinion that it was a good goal and not. So, these things, I think it's harder to overturn them than confirm them. I don't know if
For
there's
sure.
it's not like the LA challenge where when they challenge was very clearly not going to go. I think maybe it could have, maybe it didn't, but they didn't want to risk it on the road a minute in. And I think the panel on Sportsnet talked about, I think they had 4 or 5 different opinions. One guy's like,
Yeah.
you don't challenge because it's early. No, you do challenge because it's early because you have more time to come back. But, this is what the St. Louis Blues have done all series. Get in front of the net, cause havoc. And, and they did impact Connor Hrabchak, and he was not able to get a save because there was contact. And the Jets are down 1-0 early, and not a spot you want to be in.
Yeah, and I will say also the majority of the contact does come from Dylan Sandberg on Connor Hellebuck.
Mhm.
Like he pushes Buchnevich into Hellebuck, and Buchnevich does make contact with Hellebuck, but the bulk of the contact I think comes from Sandberg. So for that, maybe it was a good idea for them not to challenge, keep it at a 1-0 game. Connor Hellebuck is being contacted with. I know we'll get into the Connor Hellebuck discussion later on with a lot of these goals. This one, there's literally 2 players hitting him, whether you think it's a Blues player that did it the majority of the time or the Jets player who was Dylan Sandberg, and a knuckle puck beats him. Like, I don't know. This was a very fluky way to start the game, and I wasn't thinking, oh boy, here we go again with Connor Hellebuck. Later on in the game, definitely, I was thinking that. But this goal, I wasn't because of the contact in front of him. But like I said, a coin flip in terms of the goalie interference, and the Jets ultimately did not challenge it.
Yeah, after that, the Blues really took it to the Jets in the first period. By the end of it, they outshot them 8-2. Hellbuck made a really nice save on Pavel Buchnevich on the wing. There was also a very sketchy puck handle at one point where it went outside of the trapezoid and he had to retreat. The Jets did take a penalty. Nito Niederreiter shoved Ryan Suter in the back. At first, they said it was Morgan Barron, and you're like, what? But he didn't do anything. But that was certainly a penalty. I was surprised when Buchnevich went in hard on Pionk on the delayed whistle. Like, Pionk's just going to touch it and hit him after the whistle. But, hey, they went on the penalty kill, and there was that huge save by Connor Hrabchak, reaching back, very reminiscent to Game 5, and they were able to escape the period only down 1-0.
Yeah, that save was incredible. And like I said, once we get into the second period here, the conversation on Connor Hrabchak is going to turn. But this save was awesome. Dylan Sandberg was kind of on the goal line. He didn't really make a play on it. Neil Pionk was standing over Connor Hrabchak, and he kind of dragged it off the goal line. But for Connor Hrabchak to stop that with the paddle was awesome. And I thought the Jets penalty kill and special teams in this game were really solid. If there was one thing that was really solid in this game for the Jets, it was their special teams. They got 2 power play goals. Their penalty kill was big, at least early here. Managing it and only being down 1-0 through 1 with the 2 penalty kills, I thought was a strong start. You had the zone time, you're down 1-0, but your penalty kill looked good. You weathered the storm, and you wanted to come out and start strong in the second period, and that's what the Jets did. Ultimately, it was an offside that took away Morgan Barron's goal to start the second period. But 2 big kills and a big save from Connor Hrabchak to end the first there.
Looking back at the first period, the Jets with the 2 penalties, Dylan DeMello, a delay of game, puck over glass, and you're right about special teams, Connor. The Winnipeg Jets going 2 for 6 on the power play and 6 for 6 on the penalty kill. Down 1-0, heading into the second period, and it looks like a major break. Morgan Barron intercepting a Justin Falk pass, takes it down the middle with a power move that we saw a couple times toward the end of the season, and roofs it past Binnington. And all of a sudden, the Winnipeg Jets are tied very early on in the second.
Yeah, but came back on an offside, of course, with Morgan Barron. But hey, Morgan Barron playing up in the lineup. This was a very nice play, and like you said, that power move that we saw a few times down the stretch in the regular season. It was nice to see it. You thought the Jets weathered the storm in the first and came out guns a-blazing in the second there, but yeah, ultimately came back half of a skate blade offside, Mason Appleton.
Yeah, and I'm really don't like offside challenges, but this was the one of the few ones that you look at and you're like, oh yeah, that is offside. I only need to see this one time. No debate. I think it's a bang play, intercepts it. Appleton not able to get past the blue line quick enough. But however, there was a penalty on the play when Morgan Barron was going in for that scoring chance. Falk hooked him, and just a weird play where it was technically offside, so the goal didn't count, but on the scoring chance, Falk takes a penalty. So the penalty does stand, even though you rewind the clock before. It's interesting.
It's weird.
It's weird, yeah. But I kind of get why you have to do it. Otherwise, I think, maybe if there was a very clear offside, guys could just do whatever you wanted. And you could injure someone. It's just a strange way the rules are written. And the Jets did get a power play there, and I think you saw very early on how much different the power play looked with Nikolai Ehlers and Gabe Vilardi. And even though there was no Mark Scheifele, there was movement in terms of skating, in terms of how quickly they were passing on the puck. It just looked like how it's looked for majority of the season, and the power play had not looked very good in the first couple games of this series.
Yeah, that was one of the things that the Jets needed to improve on if they were going to win this series. And now we know it's going to come down to a game 7. Whether or not Mark Scheifele will be in the lineup, we will see. But this is one of the things that the Jets have improved as the series has gone on, has been their power play. And with both Ehlers and Vilardi back on it, it looked a lot better in this game. Not even on the opportunities that they didn't score. They were generating more chances. They were passing the puck around. Cole Perfetti obviously gets the goal that we're going to talk about in a second here. But yeah, I liked the movement that I saw, the shots I saw on Winnipeg's power plays in this game. And I think you should have confidence in that unit going into a game 7.
Yeah, watching Gabe Vilardi work the puck down low just brought back some memories of earlier on in the season when the power play was the first in the NHL. And he did hit Kyle Connor in that first power play of the second period, but Connor's on his backhand. He does get a stick on it, but Jordan Binnington, who was solid all night, got a pad on it. And again, they're putting pressure, retrieving pucks, having extended periods of zone time, but they were not able to score there. And I'm looking at the clock, 16:03 left. The shots are 10-3 Blues, but it feels like the Jets are finding their game, and they do get another power play opportunity. Nathan Walker sticks Dylan Sandberg in the stomach after, behind the play. They call a major and then review it. Something they didn't do on the Braden Shen penalty on Mark Scheifele in Game 5. And they reduce it to 2 minutes, but I think was the right call. Blues fans felt like Sandberg dove. I just don't know why Walker is even putting his, like, why are you doing that? You're winning. Do you need to stick a guy behind the play? I remember JT Miller did this against the Jets when he was with the Rangers at one time. Like, just go play hockey. I don't think you need to do any of that stuff, but I guess that's part of playoff hockey where you got to get in your opponent's head and all that. But it seemed to me a very dumb play by Walker, and the Jets did make them pay on the power play.
Yeah, Cole Perfetti. How due has he been for a goal in this series? He's had open nets, he's had posts, he's had glorious chances, and he finally gets one to go. And it's a really nice play, honestly, on the power play as he bats the puck out of the air. He tries to go backdoor here. You'll see with the NHL goal visualizer that we've got. He tries to pass it backdoor there, and the puck kind of gets jammed up. He doesn't quit on the play, out muscles, 55, Colton Parayko, gets to the front of the net, jams the puck into Jordan Binnington's pad. It popped up in the air, and he bats it out of the air and ties the game. And like you said, the Jets were finding their game at this point, getting to their groove, establishing their forecheck. Their power play was clicking. They got this power play goal. Cole Perfetti was so due for a goal, and he got one. Seemed like things were looking in the right direction for the Jets, and good on Cole Perfetti. He was due, like I've said many times now, and finally got on the board there.
Yeah, first career power play goal. I saw Garrett Hull mentioning on Twitter that it was the first one that counted, but his second goal as we had the controversial review.
First career playoff goal.
Yeah, playoff goal. The first, the controversial review did not go past the line earlier on in the series. And I thought Cole was looking very strong. He's battling in the corners, taking on guys. And if anyone had doubts about him coming into the playoffs, how would he handle playoff hockey? I think he's certainly shown that he can do that. And as you said, very due, had a number of chances in the series. And notably, as he's batting that out of the air, Ryan Suter coming from behind, grabbing him by the neck, and he's fighting it off and putting it past Jordan Binnington. A couple of nice plays, some back and forth. Morrissey and Nemesnikov had a 2-on-1. Buchnevich had a chance on an odd man rush, a save by Hrabchak, and the Jets are creeping back in the shots. 13-8 at this point. It was 10-3 and then 10-22. If they've made it 13-11 in shots, so the Jets are getting pressure. This was probably one of their best chances here to take a 2-1 lead. Ehlers and Perfetti on a 2-on-1. Ehlers decides to take it, shoots, gets a rebound, and Jordan Binnington with the big save. And after that, the game really turned for the Jets, or in the Blues' favor.
Yeah, well, turned for the Jets against them for sure. And this is the right play on Nikolai Ehlers' part. Blues took the pass. Nikolai Ehlers was one-on-one with Binnington, tries to beat him blocker side. Binnington makes a great pad save or blocker save. The rebound is right there. Ehlers tries to go right back to the exact same spot. Binnington denies him again. A big moment in the game. I'm sure the Blues will mention that as a timely save because we know what came after it, and that is an avalanche of goals. If you wanna use last year, I don't know. You use last year, lose all three road games, whatever you want to use. This is a familiar spot that we're about to enter here.
Yeah, it was the final half of the second period in Game 4. Now here we are in Game 6, and a complete repeat. It was Nathan Walker, who I said took a really dumb penalty before. Again, Blues fans who are probably watching this, they didn't watch after Game 5, Connor, but they're going to be coming out chirping us in the comments for Game 6. They thought Sandberg dove, but it was Nathan Walker totally redeeming himself, going to the front of the net in a pile of bodies, and it's Broberg who finds him through Niederreiter's stick, and he gets a stick on it and past Hrabchak, and it's 2-1 Blues.
Yeah, and this goal was, if you're in the camp of like the Jets need to play better in front of Connor Hrabchak, this I think is Exhibit A that I think you're pointing to, because as you'll see, there's a lot of dots standing around the front of the net, and not any of them are taking the stick away from Nathan Walker. He's standing right in the middle of the crease, right in the middle of 3 or 4 Jets players, and no one ties him up. Nino Niederreiter's standing at the side of the net. He's not on Nathan Walker. Gabe Vilardi's right behind him. He's not really on Nathan Walker. They're just kind of standing around, and Nathan Walker's wide open in the middle of the slot and roofs it on Connor Hrabchak. And I don't know if this is kind of the mindset of Connor Hrabchak, where He's taken everything upon his shoulders these last 2 years, and this goal completely rattled him. But if you are of the mind that the Jets need to play better in front of Connor Hrabchak, and it's not Connor Hrabchak at all, which, by the way, it can be both Connor Hrabchak and the team in front of him. That is totally okay. This is Exhibit A for that, because Nathan Walker's standing wide open. There's 3 Jets who can make a check on him, and none of them do, and they're losing all the good work they've done in the second period undone as they're now down 2-1.
Yeah, and when you hear Scott O'Neill mention that self-inflicted things they don't normally do, there's 3 guys there, and the puck squeaks through, and he taps in. I don't think the game is over at this point at all, but you look at puck handling. Connor Hrabchak, I mentioned a sketchy attempt in the first period. Well, Jordan Binnington, you know how good he is. The Jets dump it in. He stops it and just shovels it off to the side, and Brayden Schenn ends up in a one-on-one with Neil Pionk, shoots it from distance, and beats Hrabchak clean, and that feels like one that he normally saves. And if you're wondering, of Connor Hrabchak that you saw in games 3 and 4 had returned, or even in game 5 when he led in that second goal, I mean, just another one that you'd like to have back, Connor.
Yeah, for sure. And how many times do we see Connor Hrabchak get beat from this far out? It's not very often, especially in the regular season. That was not the case. But yeah, Jordan Binnington, great at handling the puck. He completely stops this play. It's not a difficult pass to just shovel it to his defender there, but he stops the play, starts the breakout. And this goal, I initially thought maybe got deflected by Pionk, who's playing one-on-one defense and had his stick in the lane. I thought maybe this puck changed direction, but it didn't. And it's relatively unscreened. It's from a safe location. If Brayden Schenn is taking that shot, Hrabchak should stop it, and you should have confidence that he will stop it. And this was just a shocking one to me. This is why after that second goal, I thought maybe this rattled Connor Hrabchak, because this is one you just don't see him give up very often, and you can tell that something is off at this point. Because, like you said, Jets fans should have confidence in Connor Hrabchak making that stop. The Jets should have confidence in Connor Hrabchak making that stop, and simply put, he doesn't.
It's 3-1. You're thinking, okay, they can battle a 2-goal deficit. And Hrabchak, to his credit, followed up with a really nice pad save on a wraparound attempt from Jordan Kyrou. But, very quickly after the Schenn goal, Cam Fowler gets the puck on the point after the Blues, win a bunch of board battles, which is how they scored a lot of their goals in games 3 and game 4, just beating the Jets down low, kicking it back to the defense. And Cam Fowler rips a shot from inside the blue line and scores. The St. Louis crowd going crazy. His 10th point of the playoffs, setting a Blues record for points in a series by a defenseman. And it's 4-1. And the Blues have scored 3 goals in 2:06. And you feel like you had to check the channel. You're saying, hey, am they just replaying game 4 here? Or are we watching a live broadcast right now?
I made the same joke, Remo. Great minds think alike. I was watching the game with my friends. I made the same joke. I was like, "Is this game 4? What's going on here?" Yeah, I mean, this is game 4. This is a screened, layered shot that Connor Hrabchak doesn't have eyes on after the Blues win a board battle. And frankly, like, we've been here after every road game, Remo. It's getting tiring talking about these kind of goals where they lose a board battle and then there's 8 guys in front of Connor Hrabchak. So you can't really pin it on him, but you'd love a save in this scenario. Like, I just don't know how to wrap my head around goals like this. Jets get out muscled. It goes to the point. Shots like this are starting to feel like high danger chances because Hrabchak can't see a thing. It's 3 goals in 2 minutes, and it felt like this game was over because, like you said, every Jets fan had game 4 replaying in their head. And obviously, we know that this wasn't the end of the pain for Jets fans, as the Blues added another one before the second period wrapped up.
Yeah, and you're wondering, do they pull Connor Hrabchak? Do you keep him in? He did get pulled the 2 games in St. Louis. Josh Morrissey gets a penalty, for roughing on Bolduc. They do, as mentioned, they do kill it, but Toropchenko gets the puck in the slot, fires it quickly, and that's after Luke Schenn makes a pass behind the net that just goes up the boards, not to his D partner. And now it's 5-1, and it's really not going well for the Jets. There's 5:14 remaining. Sorry, not going to be start back here. Just really not going well for the Jets. It's 5-1, and this game feels like it's out of reach. And it's only
Yeah.
only second period.
Yeah. Well, this is game 4, Remo. Remember, this is what it is. No, but this play really, I think, rattled a lot of Jets fans because the Jets have possession of this puck. As you see, the Blues are going for a line change. Like, they have all day to make this play. They can fully regroup, fully take their time, and this puck just jumps on Dylan DeMello. And these guys are tired. They're at the end of a shift. They don't really move after the puck jumps over his stick. It doesn't look great. The Jets forwards who are, changing at the far end of the rink are late to react to it. And then again, this is another one where, yes, you'd love Connor Hrabchak to make this save. It's another screen. It's another one that you still expect him to stop, to kind of stop the bleeding, stop the momentum here. And yeah, it's a tough one for the Jets because the puck jumps, but you use that as an excuse because Connor Hrabchak usually makes that stop.
Yeah, and the period's winding down. John Garrett mentioned that the last shot the Jets had at this point was the Ehlers chance. Shows you just how poorly it went. 3 goals in 2:06, what they scored 4 goals. And it's kind of unraveling here. Logan Stanley gets a penalty at the end of the second. You think, okay, maybe there's enough time to come back here. Like, getting tangled up with Kyrou, who thinks that no one's going to notice that he intentionally held Jordan Kyrou's stick under his arm, and he gets called for 2 minutes. So you think maybe you can get one before the end of the period and make it, a 5-2 game. And it's tough when you're on the power play, or sorry, tough when you're on killing a penalty. And the period ends. You're going into the third period. It's 5-1. You're wondering, okay, are they going to pull Connor Hrabchak or not? And they do bring in Eric Comrie for the third time in the series, third time in St. Louis. 16 goals on 66 shots in 3 games for Connor Hrabchak. And it's tough to explain the type of performance for a guy who got nominated for the Hart Trophy this week, probably going to win a Vezina. And the road performances, they're showing him on TV, this year in St. Louis, last year in Colorado. It just hasn't gone well, period.
Yeah, and the Sportsnet panel debated basically the entire second intermission of if you play Connor Hrabchak in the third, and how you go about pulling him if you are going to. In my opinion, even at the time, you take him out, you pull him. You've got game 7. This game is all but over, barring a miraculous comeback. And the way your team is playing in front of him at that time as well, it could get a lot worse. And you don't want Connor Hrabchak just taking unnecessary shots in a meaningless game at this point. So I say pull him. That's what they ended up doing. Game 7 is Sunday. He's going to be your starter. And you move on with Connor Hrabchak, and Eric Comrie plays the third, and the Jets get 1 goal in the third. But I don't know, is there anything else to really note from the third period, Remo, besides Niederreiter's power play goal?
Power play still looked good. Velarde had a chance, the side of the net.
Yeah.
I was interested that they pulled the goalie, went for the 6-on-4 power play. I feel like sometimes you're not used to having so many guys on the ice. At one time, it's not a standard power play, and Ehlers, maybe him and Pionk got confused. They're kind of being in the same spot. Got a little rough at times. Josh Morrissey got into it with Justin Falk. Toninato got into Binnington's face at one point.
The Shen brothers were yapping at each other.
Shen brothers yapping. But yeah, at this point, the game's over. Nemestikov got hit where Velarde hit Buchnevich. And Buchnevich's helmet went into Nemestikov's face, and his visor upped him. He was bleeding. The Blues fans, credit to them, they brought it for all 3 games. And we had Alex Ferrario, who hosts the Blues pre- and post-game on their radio broadcast, saying he hadn't heard Enterprise Center that loud since Stanley Cup Final in 2019. Said it didn't get close to that volume, 21 and 22, when they last hosted playoff series. So the game's over. You thought maybe they were going to have a comeback. Nino Niederreiter did score on a rebound that got disallowed because of a delayed penalty when Mason Appleton slashed Braden Shen. Not a lot of takeaways from this third period. You thought you were holding out hope that they would mount a comeback after the Niederreiter goal Wasn't going to happen. The
Yeah.
game was over. They're on to game 7.
And game 7 is Sunday at 6 p.m., Canada Life Center. It all comes down to this: winner take all at home. I know Scott O'Neill over the next 2 days at one point is going to mention you play 82 games for home ice advantage. In games like this, the Winnipeg whiteout is going to be nuts. It was nuts for game 5. It was nuts for games 1 and 2. This is it. You and Hustler and everyone called it the ultimate gut check in game 5. What about a winner take all on home ice? This is the ultimate gut check for this core. And I'm fired up. I know people are down on the loss here, but game 7, Jets have only been in one ever with the Nashville series back in 2018. So it's going to be intense. It's going to be, both teams are going to give it their all. And I'm looking forward to it, Remo.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll be watching updates if Mark Scheifele will be in the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets have not announced their schedule for tomorrow yet, so we might have to wait till Sunday. I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do. But they have won all the games at home in this series so far, and I think if you're the Jets, you have to just flush this one and know that, hey, you can play these guys well at home. You played them well for a majority of the game in game 4. In game 6, it was just a couple minutes of lapses, and St. Louis really took advantage. So it's tough not closing out the series when you had this opportunity, but you have the home ice advantage where they have played so well. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions about the goaltending, but Connor Hrabchak is the guy. They're not going to go away from him, and they're going to hope that he can find his game here in game 7, where he is 1-0 in game 7s, as you mentioned, 2018 on the road in Nashville.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. This loss is fresh, but I almost want to feel like it's a career-defining game for Connor Hrabchak. Like, if he plays like this in a game 7 at home as the number 1 seed, like that would be detrimental. That would be an incredible disappointment for a guy who's up for the Hart, who's going to win the Vezina, right? Like, this is go time, not only for this entire core, but for Connor Hrabchak. Like, I don't know. You can't rely on your team to bail you out of a series where you have an .830 save percentage. And say what you want about, the team in front of them and the chances. I think it's a mix of both. It's not just Connor Hrabchak. It's not just the team in front of him. But Connor Hrabchak has to step up in game 7 as well as the rest of the team in front of him. But I think it's a career-defining game for Connor Hrabchak for all the accolades he's going to take home this season. To go out in round 1 playing like this in round 1 would be an incredible disappointment. So I think all eyes and pressure are on Connor Hrabchak on Sunday.
Yeah, a lot on the line for the Jets after the last 2 playoff exits. We talked about it all week, how big that game 5 was. You can say exactly the same about game 7, talking about wanting to be better, wanting to improve their defensive structure after getting dominated by Colorado. They've played St. Louis mostly pretty well this series, but the games in St. Louis, just a couple minutes where the Blues were able to take advantage and get out to a huge lead and really put the game away. So, I can look at ice time. I don't know. Do you expect any other lineup changes? They did swap the defense at one point in this series. We did see Logan Stanley, who played 9:28 in this game. Does Hayden Fleury come in? Does Colin Miller come in? What do you think the lineup will look like here? Does Mark Scheifele come in? We did see Jared Anderson-Dolan come out, and he doesn't play center. They went with Toninato over Gustafsson and Kupari. And I thought that line was actually fine.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's really a wrong answer. How much of a difference is there between those 3 guys?
I'd like to see Colin Miller come in, whether it's for Stanley or Shen on the third pair. I thought he was good in his one game, and not even to how good Colin Miller played, but I really didn't like the Stanley Shen pairing. I did like them in game 5. Scott O'Neill and the Jets coaching staff does a much better job of sheltering them, obviously, with last change on home ice. But in game 7, you're going to need everyone to contribute. I think Colin Miller is a better option. I don't know what people think in the comments below. But yeah, I think that's one lineup change we might see. With last change, it does matter less, but in game 7, the margin for error is so thin. I think Colin Miller is a better option on that third pair than one of those two, Stanley or Shen. Take your pick.
We'll have to wait and see. Stay tuned. If you have thoughts, leave them in the comments. And if you made it this far, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. Tells YouTube we're putting out some good content, and maybe it'll show it to more people who are interested. As many people interested, Game 7, Round 1. We'd have won on Saturday, Dallas, Colorado. And the winner will play the Game 7 of this series, Jets, Blues. So, Connor, we will be doing this again. This time Sunday after a Game 7. Really looking forward to that. Game 5, very intense. I'm figured Game 7 will be exactly the same. So, and you'll be live as well Sunday morning here on YouTube, podcast after WC Sunday Live with you, Liz Hood, and Jacob Stoller. Connor, I think at this point, we've said it all. Josh Morrissey, 24-55 ice time. Sandberg, 21-33. Pionk, 23-36. Forward leaders, Kyle Connor, 21-53. Low, Toninato, 7-35. I mean, I don't know how much you can take away from any of the other stats. What shots? Blues, 27-23. We mentioned the special teams, the Jets with the power play goal and garbage time in the third period, but the final score, Blues 5, Jets 2. I think we've said it all here, right, Connor?
I think we have. And the attention turns to, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Join us right here on the WST channel, WST Sunday Live. We really appreciate it if you tune in for a Game 7 game day edition of WST Sunday Live. That's going to be a massive day. This was another road game post-game reaction where the Jets got blown out. We've had 3 of those in this series so far, Remo.
Yeah, first home Game 7 in Winnipeg NHL history. So, looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. Come back here on Sunday very late for our post-game reaction. For Connor Hrabchak, I'm Michael Remis. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.